took. And by the age of 17, I was a runaway. I left home, and when I ran away from home, I had $23, $26. And the reason I was dancing in all these little clubs is because I had to pay my bills. Lola Falana was banned from The Tonight Show for speaking the truth about racism in Hollywood. NBC executives met the next day and made sure she'd never return. Her career crumbled. Then in 1987, she woke up paralyzed on her left side. Multiple sclerosis had struck. Without warning. But what she did next changed everything. She crawled when she couldn't walk, prayed every day, and experienced what she called a miracle. The transformation that followed was completely unexpected. Lola Falana was born into a life most people wouldn't survive. She came into the world on September 11, 1942 in Camden, New Jersey. Her family had very little, and she was the third of 6 children packed into a small home full of noise, struggle, and ambition. Her father, Bennett, had come all the way from Cuba, joined the U.S. Marines, and then worked as a welder just to keep the lights on. Her mother, Cleo, stitched clothes and stretched every dollar until it tore. Lola's childhood was hard, but it was also rich in something else. Music, dancing, storytelling, and a sense of culture that helped her see beauty even in the middle of poverty. Even as a toddler, Lola couldn't sit still. She danced around the house at 3, sang in church at 5, and by the time she turned 12, she wasn't just learning routines, she was teaching them. When the family moved to Philadelphia in 1952, it was in search of something better. Lola turned that hope into motion. She studied piano, violin, and dance, went to school by day, performed by night, and gave it everything she had. She mixed gospel with tap, jazz with Afrobeat rhythms, and did it in a way that felt new and electric. Her style didn't look like anyone else's, and that's what made her unforgettable. But not everyone thought her dreams were worth the risk. Right before graduation, she made a choice that shook her family. She dropped out of Germantown High School. Her parents were devastated. Her father, who had worked so hard to give her a chance, felt betrayed. But Lola didn't want a safe life. She wanted a big one. She walked out with no diploma, no job, and no safety net. Just the promise she made to herself that she would never come back unless she made it. New York didn't welcome her. She arrived with almost nothing in her pocket and nowhere to sleep. So she slept in subway stations, cold floors, hard benches, echoing noise. That was her bed for a while. But she didn't give up. Every day was an audition. Every night was a new hustle. She kept going, kept performing, kept pushing. People started to talk about her. The girl who danced like her life depended on it. The girl who lived underground just to reach the stage. And that story stuck. It made her unforgettable. What most people didn't know was how closely her mother was watching. Even when Lola was still in school, Cleo would escort her to nightclubs, gritty places full of danger, drunks, and sometimes worse. Lola would sing and dance for just $10. Cleo never left her side. She didn't want her daughter to get chewed up by that world. She stood in the shadows and protected her even when it scared her. That decision might have been the one that kept Lola safe. It also gave her a glimpse of just how ugly and chaotic that world could be. She learned fast how to survive, and she never forgot it. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1958, Lola was 16 years old when she walked up to Dinah Washington, one of the most respected singers of her time, and asked to perform. It was a long shot, but Washington gave her the chance. On stage, right in the middle of her song, Lola's swimsuit strap snapped. She didn't stop. She held the strap in her teeth and danced anyway. 16 jait in a row. The audience went wild. Dinah laughed and clapped. And from that moment on, Lola wasn't just another girl with talent. She had guts, and that mattered more than anything. That boldness led her to Atlantic City, where she kept dancing in smoky clubs until one night Sammy Davis Jr. saw her. He was already one of the biggest entertainers in the world, and he knew talent when he saw it. He cast her in his Broadway show Golden Boy in 1964. That changed everything. The show was daring for its time. It talked about race, love, and all the things most people were afraid to say out loud. And right there in the middle of it was Lola, standing out from the chorus and proving she belonged. By 1965 she had recorded her first single, My Baby. She signed with Mercury Records, then later with Reprise, the label owned by Frank Sinatra. That meant something. Sinatra didn't back just anyone. Being a black woman in the music industry was never easy. But Lola didn't just show up, she broke through. She performed on television, headlined clubs, and proved she wasn't just a dancer or an actress. She was everything. And through it all, Sammy Davis Jr. wasn't just her mentor. He became much more. He managed her, coached her, and introduced her to the inner circle of showbiz. In 1966, Lola Falana stepped into the world of film with her debut in A Man Called Adam. She was only 24 but held her own alongside Sammy Davis Jr., Ossie Davis, Cicely Tyson, Louis Armstrong, and Frank Sinatra Jr. The story was deep and intense. Followed a jazz trumpeter spiraling through racism and addiction. Falana played a smaller part, but her presence stood out. The film tackled heavy themes, and being part of it meant she wasn't just entering showbiz. She was stepping into a world that few black women had access to at the time. Directed by Leo Penn and released by Embassy Pictures, the movie gave her international exposure. It was the start of something much bigger. That same year she moved to Italy. Most American stars would have stayed put, but Falana went where doors opened wider. Within a year she was fluent in Italian, not just speaking it but performing in it. Between 1967 and 1968, she acted in 3 films. One of them, Lola Colt, was a spaghetti western where she didn't just play a role, she was the lead. A gun-toting, fearless woman of color in a genre that rarely allowed such bold casting. Italian audiences couldn't look away. She sang, danced, acted live on television, and completely broke the mold of what people thought a black woman could be. She started appearing on the hugely popular show Sabatoa beside Italian music icon Mina. The chemistry between them was magnetic. Falana's charm, elegance, and confidence stood out. She sang in fluent Italian, danced like no one else, and carried herself with a calm power that mesmerized audiences. That's when they